Okay, where is the recording button? Okay. So, welcome all. We are on our 71st BC Open discussion. And today I was playing with ALGO. Didn't reach anywhere as I was saying earlier. And we'll give it a try if that works or not. And see if we can achieve that, what's available there or not. So let's go through quickly through the normals and then we'll move there, which is if you are here for the first time, then you should know that this is how you register every week. And if you don't want to register every week, then drop your name and email in the chat, and I'll make sure that you get invited going forward. Okay, so let's jump in quickly because it may take a lot of time. I spent good amount of time today, didn't reach anywhere. So I thought let's do it together and see if we can reach somewhere. So what I'm talking about is what we talked in, I guess, the previous sessions about this feature which is coming up with Business Central 20 called ALGO for GitHub. And then it talks about, if you read that article from Microsoft, it talks about that they are trying to streamline how the pipelines, how the code repositories are being built, what pipelines you're using, how you're using it. And says when you create a new Git repo, you can base it either on a PTE, and there's a hyperlink to that, or based on an app source app template. Both type of repo gives you a fully functional GitHub repo for all AL projects, in which you can create new app or add an existing app. And these are the different actions available in that template, which is that you can create a new app by saying create a new app or create a new test app workflow. If you have to add an existing app, you can just simply upload the app file to the existing app or test workflow. And then apps are automatically included into the CI/CD workflow, which is continuous increment and continuous deployment. And then test execution and reporting is automatically handled for all test apps, and every successful build produce artifacts, which is the app, that are stored on the build for 90 days, which is the GitHub default period. Now you can also use this template to create the actual release, and every successful release will be stored, and the source for this release is available going forward. You can also link a customer environment if required for deployment. And then there's a command called update or a workflow update ALGO system files, which ensures that repos always use the latest version of the workflow and actions are never get stale. You can create local Docker-based or online SaaS-based deployment that are being deployed with this, and you can read it and also try it out today. As we were talking about it last time, I thought let's give it a try. But as I was saying earlier, didn't reach anywhere. So maybe we all can give it a try together and see if we are able to make it. So here is the repo from Microsoft about it, which is for the pertinent extension. And then there is the other link if you are into building app source app. Both these templates have its own README, which talks about what you can do. So like the process would be that you will click on the top and say use this template to create a new repo based on this template. So let's do that. And let's see what happens. Okay. And let's give it a name. Okay. I'm keeping it public right now. And let's create the repo from this template, which will kind of clone that repo into my GitHub. So I have the same template now as it is available from Microsoft. So now let's read it through. Under the actions, you can use the add existing or add new workflow to add your apps and test apps. CI pipelines is automatically started. Okay. You can register a customer environment using AAD app for authentication. Okay, but that requires an AAD app in your Business Central environment also. When CI finishes, deployment pipeline will automatically start, and the CD pipeline publish the latest CI build to sandbox environment set up for CD. You can also create releases, and the CD pipeline is automatically started. Now let's give it a try if we can test something. So what it says that go to actions, and then in the actions you see all these workflow which are by default part of that template. It is you can add an existing app or an existing test app into this workflow. Let's click on see what options are there. Okay, so it says project name if the repo is set up for multiple project, which means if you're using workspaces, and a link to download the app file or the zip file for your app. Okay, maybe let's create a new app and let's see does it create or not. Create a new app, run workflow, and here it is project name if repo is set up for multiple project, none, name, demo app, publisher, let's use my name, ID range 50,000 to 9,000, and do you want to directly commit? Let's say yes. Okay, let's see what happens when you run the workflow. Okay, it started. Let's click on this, and right now it's initializing it. Okay, and I haven't connected any of my Azure account to this or anything for that matter. It's just doing it based on the workflow that is defined by Microsoft. Okay. Now this seems to be done. It's doing the create app. Okay. It's doing the checkout. It's reading some settings. Pretty cool. Now it should start creating the new app. It did something and it created a new app. Cloning into PC Open Discussion demo, downloading the PC container helper, creating a new sample app on this, and it completed the job, it seems. No, yeah, it's cleaning up. But okay, let's understand what it is doing. And anybody else have used it, just please let me know. Maybe.
Well, I'm actually using it, but it has queued the tasks. It's stuck under create a new app, and it's been queued, then goes back in progress, then queued, in progress.
Okay, let's see. Here it says it's done, the post process. So let's go back up and see what actually happened. So it says it's successful. Let's go back into our repo and see what actually happened. So it actually added a new app called demo app, which have an app.json with the name that I've provided in the workflow, the publisher name, and I'm hoping the ID range also. Yes. What else it did add? Let's quickly have a look. It added a hello world AL, which is the default. Okay. And then it also added the VS code and the launch.json. Okay. That's look okay. I would love it if it would have fetched it from the Freddy's template, which is there. so that we get a structure which is more aligned to what Microsoft suggests. Let's see what other options are here. Okay, this is add an existing app or test app. I don't have a URL of the zip file at all. Anyone have used it? Sam, you have used it anywhere else?
Nope, never.
Okay. Let's do this. Let's test the CI/CD by cloning this and just adding a fake app into it. Just see does it work or not. Okay, let me clone this on my VS Code. And where is my VS Code? Let me see. Okay, here it is. And do a clone. Okay, let's put it here. This got clone and it says it's a workspace. Let's open the workspace and my demo app is there. So it also added it onto my workspace folder. And this is an app. Okay. I have a GUID, everything is there. I just need to make sure that do I need to make sure that the symbols are there? I don't think. The CI/CD should be creating a Docker. So let me just directly run the CI/CD and see what happens. Okay. Because there are no parameters and it says which branch you want to kind of run the workflow on. And I guess I have only one branch, main. And then let's run the workflow. Okay. It's queued. And this is interesting that what all it run. So it's initializing the build. And then let's click on this and see what it's doing. Okay. Check for update or build. Those are the next two actions. But which host it'll use? Because it's supposed to create a Docker environment when the pipeline is being run. It didn't ask for my authorization for my machine, and I'm pretty sure it's not doing it on my machine. But then where it is doing it? Now it's running the build, okay, which is on the pipeline, and there's no more details around it. Okay, so it's downloading the artifacts of 19.3, which is the latest version of US localization. But where it is doing it, I guess that's something I would be interested in understanding. And Steve, let me know, when we set up the pipelines, we define our Azure server, right, where the build should be running.
Well, maybe it's creating the whole Azure.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with how it's done on GitHub. I have not tried this yet.
Yeah, because we were reading about it, I guess last week, about what's coming in the next version, and then this popped up, and we were talking about it. But I'm not sure where it is doing it, because for sure it's not happening on my machine, as far as I know. Let me check, is there a folder with
I'm
that name?
It's spooling up a build agent in the background.
But there is no linked Azure server where it should be running this.
I'm assuming it's a GitHub build server.
Oh, okay.
That's my guess. I have not looked into it.
Yeah.
Now,
Right.
the one reason that I have not looked into this further is because I spoke with Waldo about this versus DevOps with ALOps, and
Yes.
my interest is being able to make modifications, being able to change the pipeline, and his impression was that the GitHub Actions would, you get your default template that Freddie provided, but you would not be able to make modifications, or at least easily make modifications, and that his perspective was that DevOps, if you just want a simple out of the box build with no changes, super simple, this might work. But his thought was that if you do want to make changes, if you want to interact with something else or do something else with your pipeline,
Yes.
that DevOps would probably be a better option. And I'm eventually going to look at ALOps to give us a little more flexibility in terms of adding additional tests and build processes during our pipeline. Now,
Okay.
I'm open to hear if that's incorrect, and maybe GitHub Actions is flexible and can be changed, but his impression was that it was not as easy to change as DevOps.
Okay, so while it is running, and thanks see for that, let's quickly see which workflow is this when it is running this. And maybe I'll have to close the workspace. That's not part of the workspace. Okay. Okay. And let me open it from here. Let's see what's it's running. The demo app is our app which it's just created, but let's look at the GitHub. So what we are running is CI/CD YAML, and this is what it's doing. Now, as far as my understanding it, and I don't know how easy or complex to kind of change this, but this is what's running right now. And let me see if there are ways to kind of change things. Like, can I change that it should not run on US and it should do it, let's say, for India? Okay. Read settings, and then it goes into the license file URL, service as token, run pipeline, it creates it. But where is that settings where I can change things? Settings is in somewhere, read settings output.settings.json, but I don't see the settings.json anywhere. Oh, here it is. Oh, so the country I can change it here, but it'll always pick the latest latest version. It seems so that it'll only pick the latest version. And then the app folder becomes whatever your app folder is. If you have a test app, I guess it'll update it here if you create it from the template. And then in the CI/CD, there will be a reference of the test need to be run when the build is running. So, okay. Read secret, read, run pipeline, and where it'll store the artifacts. I guess that's what I'm interested in looking at. Output apps, publish artifacts, test results, and clean up. There's a deploy part. Okay, but let's look at it where it is right now. Okay, so it's for sure a slow server wherever it's happening. I'm hoping because it's still running the pipeline. And normally 6 to 8 minutes is more than sufficient to kind of set up a Docker and install this and get the artifacts out of it. But because it's kind of running on a free environment somewhere, it might be a little bit slow. Okay, let's keep this as it is, and we'll come back to this as it happens. Let's see what other options are there, and then maybe people who are not using any other Azure services or DevOps services, at least they can start it from here, and then evolve to services as Steve was saying. There is a way to kind of increment the version number. As if you set it up for a project, you don't want to manually kind of keep on changing the version on your app.json. You just want to set this up on this workflow, and then it'll kind of keep on updating it, and you can surely define it as different parameters and all. A new test app will also add a test app, as we just did the new app thing. Create online dev environment. This is to name of the online environment, reuse environment if it exists. Okay, so that means if you have an online environment, you can define that here and set it up. You can also test all your builds against the current version, which is BC 19 at this point. You can also test all your builds for the next major and next minor, which is the next cumulative update, or to the next major release once, if you have the insider build tokens. I guess that it should ask for. No, it's not. So maybe it's a setting that need to be set. It's the next major YAML. So let's quickly have a look on the next major one. Okay, so while it should be somehow looking for insider token. Yes, this is the token, but it is not parameterized. This is a secret, right? Okay, go election and read secrets. Okay, go action and go action, read secrets. And where is that file to read secrets? Okay, I think I'll have to spend a little bit more time into it to kind of understand what's happening. And this is the dev environment file that's, I guess, kind of right now running, which is the cloud dev environment and the local dev environment. Let's see the local dev environment. Will it allow me to create a Docker container if required? Script for creating local dev environment. Please do not modify the script as it is auto-updated from the GO template. The recommended approach is to use as is, add a script which calls this script with the user specific parameters. Container name, authentication, license file, and insider SAS tokens. Checks for the system requirement. It creates the container and then checks for authentication. Okay, so it's going one by one, I guess, and then moving ahead and able to verify the credential. License file, and then it just creates the Docker environment for you on your machine if required. And this is if you have to create a cloud dev environment for your projects. Yeah, there's for sure a lot of reading is required to kind of make sure that what it is trying to do and how we can utilize it, who haven't used it for that matter. Yeah, but this is super slow at this point. Like setting up a Docker, if it is already running for 11 minutes, that's time consuming. Okay, so while it's happening, and I don't know who asked for it, but somebody said, because we walked through what's being deprecated, and there was one thing that we saw specifically for on-prem that's being deprecated is the service panel or the server administration tool for Business Central. In the September release, Microsoft is going to remove that for on-premise installations, and that's where understanding of PowerShell is important. I guess that was the second thing that I wanted to talk about, but I don't see who asked it, as in the person who asked it is here. So anything else that you can talk about today? Otherwise, we'll talk about that.
Well, is there a reference for all the commands that we use to commit through the administration panel? Like
Yes.
anything I
So,
used to do through the administration panel, I'll be doing it in PowerShell. Is that a workbook for that?
so the way it works, and let me open my command panel. This is the panel that we are talking about, which is going away in the September
Now,
release.
which version would deprecate this?
21, BC 21, which is September
Because I'm
release.
running actually 19.3, the latest release, and it has the administration panel available.
Yeah, it'll have it. It'll go away in 21, BC 21,
Oh, right, okay.
which is two release from now, which is the March release, and then September release will not be available. So we and also the administrator at customer use this panel on-prem environment for doing all kind of changes on these different kind of settings. Now, if you understand this, this actually comes from one JSON file that's stored in your server directory, which is, let me navigate you there. Okay. Okay. So there is this Business Central 190. Now it's here, but
It will be in program files, right? Not 86.
yeah, I have this habit to come here for the panel because they moved the panel to here, but the file is there. Yeah. Okay, so here without the x86 inside the service, that's a JSON file which contain all these settings, custom settings.json. And let me open it with code here. Yes. Okay. So Sam, this is the file that kind of goes behind the scene of what you see on the screen. And there are some parameters that you don't even see on that panel, which are available on this screen, on this file, right? So all the parameters that you see are part of this, and this file will remain because that's how the services are being run based on this file. Now you can either manually change it, that's one option, or you can use the PowerShell command. And then there are two ways to use PowerShell command. One is that you can open the Business Central Administration cell that also comes, and that will remain after the file has been removed. It'll always remain there. So what happens, for some reason I cannot run it as an administrator from here. So let me open this, and then you need to run it always as administrator, otherwise the commands don't load. But I cannot, so let me open it directly. Okay. So here what happens when you don't open as an administrator, on the top you see this warning that it is not kind of run as administrator. But you have all these commands which are available to kind of do different things at a service level. If you have to do service level changes, like if you have to import a license, if you have to, synchronize your tenant, if you have to install an app, all these are part of this panel. Now, some people like it but I'm a little bit lazy because I don't remember stuff. So what happens is if you go into the shortcut of this, you will end up or see the target of this, you will end up with this big command here. Okay, if I can, okay. And let me put it somewhere. Let's say I'll put it here and then I'll remove it. Which is that it's using behind the scene this file. The C program files, Dynamics 365 Business Central, 190 service, and then this PS1, which is a PowerShell command. And then it's loading this file. And Sandeep sir, you have something to say? Yeah, it seems to be raised.
You can complete and then I will speak.
Okay.
Just a small tips on how best easily we can use it.
Right. So the panel that you get from Microsoft kind of load this PowerShell into this PowerShell window, and then that gets open to kind of run your commands. The other way would be, or the preferred way that I use, is that you can link this PowerShell Ise. There's a Windows PowerShell Ise. If you search for it, you can just search for Ise. Pin it on your taskbar.
It'd be having all the functions on the right panel.
Yes. So you'll get all these functions on the right panel. You'll get all the parameters. You will get all kind of help, which is documented there. But as this PowerShell was doing, you also need to kind of import this module before you start doing anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you can just do a import module and then that path name. If you don't remember it, you can just copy it from there. But otherwise, the PowerShell gives you the. Oh, I've removed it. Good. Okay. So you can use the PowerShell way or the autocomplete command feature, and then navigate to that path, and then just run this. This will also give you all those commands here. Now, as Sam was saying, that there are different ways to use it. Again, if you are a geek on command line, then maybe you remember all the parameters and you can use them here. But let's say if you have to import a license, just for that matter, you can just use this.
Do you think you could try to deploy a license from PowerShell? Just try to do it.
Okay, I'll do that. Not wrong. So once you do that, then, I chose the BC, sorry, nav server, import nav server license. Now you just need to give the license file and the service name. So I'll plug in the service name and let me get the license file path from my other screen if I can. Okay. If it is not expired, let me use this one. Okay. So it's done, Sam, and then you need to make sure that you restart the service once you have changed the license, right?
Okay.
And then you can also do it from here, which is restart nav server instance, just a service name, and then run it. Yes, Sandeep sir, has something to say?
Yeah. Can I share my screen?
Yeah, why not? Please.
So let us look at Waldo. He helps you a lot of things. One of the things is that he has given a small code to create profiles in PowerShell Ise.
Right.
So what this does is when we use it, I am now the way I use it, 2016 Cmdlets already
Great.
import module, then for BC14, BC17, BC18, BC19. And what it does is it gives you these options in here.
Oh, in the add-ons menu. Okay.
So if I'm restarting a PowerShell, I will simply has to run it as administrator.
And then check on that specific add-ins.
Yes. Once this loaded, so now both these commands. Now this what it does is it will load both development shell as well as admin shell. So you can use single window.
Oh, nice.
And then you can have lot of options of like what I normally do is I prepare my files. license, import license, simple command, load it.
Okay.
Whenever you just change the path and load it.
Right.
So
Create
you've
an
loaded
instance,
that, you've just loaded this.
create an instance, including in
Setting up the
IIS,
parameters. Yeah.
everything, yes, everything will be done in one go.
Yes, Sam, you're saying something?
Yeah, sorry.
He's,
I think
no problem. He's just loaded different versions of BC modules. So you can
at one
work with,
time, at one
yeah,
time you can have one version active, and then if you want to work on a different version, you'll have to close the PowerShell and reopen it. That's how it works.
okay.
So, like, we do upgrades, so we have certain PowerShells for upgrades. So if something need to be run on BC18, and let's say then something need to be run on BC19, during between those two PowerShell, when I'm executing them, I have to close a PowerShell and reopen it so that the right modules get installed. Now, in the Business Central world, there is, as Sandeep sir was saying, there is not much use of the development one, but in the NAV versions, there were very good commands which were very useful in those versions. Like there was commands to compare files, there was command to merge files, and even generate delta files, which then can use on the CAL to AL conversion. I don't know what's available now on those module, but majorly you will be dealing with the service module, at least from the BC versions. Okay, so yeah, that I guess,
Just a heads
yeah,
up, the CI/CD has completed, I guess, because mine
is it?
has. Yeah.
Yours done? So then it might be running on my machine, I guess. If it is still slow. Oh no, it's running. It's completed. Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see what happened. Okay, so what it does, as far as I understand it, from the way we use it, now it somewhere in the cloud, it created a Docker container based on the version that was set up on this settings file and the localization, which is US. It created this container, BC197934. That was sandbox container. It was set to multi-tenant. This was the version used. And once the everything was selected, it started the way it does it on your machine, right? It installs all the artifacts. It set up this local drive on your machine when you do it on your machine as a Docker, creates these additional file for configuration. Once the Business Central installation and SQL Server installation is done, and that's where the interesting part comes, I guess. Okay, it's right now installing all the base Microsoft apps.
Well, is
I
it done on the
don't,
local machine?
it is not doing it on my local machine, and I'm very sure about it because I tried it today with my internet kind of turned off, but when I came back online and went there, it was still running. So it is surely not doing it on my machine.
So this is an Azure VM.
Yeah, somewhere Microsoft has an Azure VM just to make sure that people start using this approach. Then it create a self-signed certificate, modified the settings on service tier, and then the Docker was ready. So at this point, when the Docker was ready, and it started the compiling the app that we have in our repo, which is in the BC open discussion. Our app had some dependency with the BC19 base and system app. So it started downloading the dependencies that were needed for my project. Once the dependencies were downloaded, it called this PowerShell, which then compiled the app called demo app in that Docker container. Now, once that app was compiled, it has one file it's saying, and the compilation ended. And then it derived a file in this folder, which I have no idea where it is, which ended with the name of the publisher underscore, the name of the app, then the version of the app, and then app. And this is the default, I guess, reading style when you get an app. The first one is the publisher name. The second part is the app name, and then the version name. In 28 seconds. And then it get copied into this drive, okay? And then it's trying to publish the app, which is where it is trying to publish the app. Okay, it's it's trying to publish the app on Docker. Synchronizing the demo app, installing the demo app, and it was published. Then it copies the app to artifacts, and this is where I want to see where it is being published. In the apps folder, okay, and then it is supposed to remove the container. This all is written. So then the container gets removed and it'll be recreated when you run it again. Then it calculates the artifact name, which means that's doing something. Okay, I'm pretty sure we didn't have any publish, so it was ignore. Okay, there was no test app, there's no test results, that means, and then it does. But now I would like to find where the app is. Is it on my repo? I doubt it, but let's have a look. No, it's not here. Good. How we'll find this? This is interesting. Let me go to this. This is for sure the Docker path, so this I cannot access. But where is how I can utilize the app that is generated from it is the question. Let's open the VS Code and see that the artifact thing. Don't save and don't save. In the CI/CD YAML, I'm not on the deploy part, not on the cleanup, and I am in here. This is calculate before this run pipeline, which runs it, and then secrets are run from here. Let me check my email. Maybe it's on my email because sometime it was sending me email in the past. So let me see if I have it. Supposed to go to where my Gmail. It didn't end up there also. If it fails, then it was sending me an email, but it succeeded and then it didn't send me an email. So how I'll find this app is the question. Let me go back into the actions and see, is there an option to download app somewhere? View workflow file. That's just a file. I have no clue, guys, where it is storing this file. That would be interesting because that's what we want. That every app that gets into your customer environment goes through a CI/CD if possible. Okay. No, I don't want to delete the workflow run. I actually want to see where the outputs are. One job completed. Workflow run creates status patch. Oh, what is this? Windows latest workflow. Okay, no previous release found, no test app found, and oh, here's the app. So artifacts was placed here, and I can actually download it as a zip file. So let me see that. Can I just download that app or copy that app? Let me place it on my desktop. Okay, Here it is. This is the app. Let's try to unzip this. So here's the app that is generated from the CI/CD pipeline, and I'm pretty sure we can deploy this on my environment if required. So for a basic installation, if you haven't started working with the CI/CD, I guess this is good to play with to begin with. That you don't need an Azure subscription at this point, it seems. You don't need Azure server to start with it. And then once, as Steve was saying, and Steve is not here now, once you kind of understand this, how it is working, and you want to do your own customs in the pipeline, then maybe you can look forward to the Azure subscription and have a server on Azure to kind of run these Docker build pipelines and then utilize it fully. But all the actions which normally that we use in our pipelines are available here. That you can have an app and a test app. And as we were seeing on our VS Code, you can define those parameters here in your settings.json, which will, if you have multiple apps, I'm pretty sure you can do something like this. As you saw into the Freddy command, I can write it if I have a test app also. Sorry, demo2 app, I can just do like this, and then it'll publish both the apps from the CI/CD. If there is a test associated that you want to run after these apps are published on the Docker environment, then you can define that test app here. And that automated test will run in the CI/CD as it's being rolled out, which is written here about the test. Let me see where is the test option. Test app artifact. So yeah, here's the test app artifacts which will be generated, and then it'll end up with a XML file of the test result if your test pass or fail. The way I know Microsoft has written all these YAML files is if your test fail, then you don't get an artifact out of your CI/CD. So if you are not using it right now, I guess it's a good way to at least start it and then move into the bigger solutions as they are available. As we were looking at the Freddy's demo repo a few weeks ago, you should have a test app. That's the best case scenario, that if you have a test app which automatically tests all your customs, and if you have read the book which is the automated test from Luke, it walks you through about why and how you should create your test. So it majorly says that before you write your dev, you should first write your test, which then proves that you're not writing your test by assuming that what you have written in the app. And then CI/CD take care of it, that it runs every time you do a commit, and it validates your app before publishing it. And then all these options are here. If you have the insider, if you are part of the Ready to Go program, and you have the secrets for insider build, then you can just set them up, and they will be used when the next major and next minor pipelines are being read. So yeah, that looks good to me as a beginning step. That looks pretty good. I haven't used any of these yet, but it seems there are ways that you can publish directly to an environment. And the one thing that I actually would like to try sometime, maybe today or tomorrow, that there's one more which I was looking at, which is the update ALGO system files, which means if you have a template which you want to apply on this new project before you start it, you can just do that by running this workflow by providing the template repo URL. So like if I have this repo here, which talks about the template, then I can just plug in this URL into that. And before I start writing, it will create the template as we saw from Freddy, right? It'll have an app, it'll have a test, and then part of this you can start deploying it on your every app that you're building. So you don't have to do it every time. It'll make sure that the template gets copied, all your settings that you want to set on your like you want an image on your extension. That should be a default setting. If you want to have a default publisher name on all of your apps, that all can be defined here. Like just for example, this is a sample one where I have a logo attached, where I have all my URLs in place. So I don't have to kind of rewrite it every time. I can just plug it in here and then it'll get applied into my new project that I'm building, which also comes with all these workflows which are in place to be used. And I'm pretty sure that you can kind of automate the flow of it. Like you can use, let's say, timestamp as the next version of your app, which makes it unique than the previous version that's installed on your customer environment. So yeah, this is a good thing, I guess, that Microsoft is doing to make sure that the releases remain consistent throughout the different partners that are building all these apps for their customers. And then if you are into app source app, then you can utilize this template, which is similar to it, but it'll have some other rules more or less, which are specific to app source. Tests for all the non-universal code setting and things like that while it's trying to publish that. So yeah, I was playing with it today and it looks pretty decent to me as a starting point if you have to. Okay, anything else for today? I don't think I have anything else. We were talking about this and that. Anything else, anyone?
Obviously, I do have actually some questions about IL and some questions about licensing.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I should have went through the blog and post them, but well, I didn't. Well, simple question. Is that problem actually, what are the consequences of using a different customer license?
A different customer license?
I do have my partner license. I do have my
Right.
customer's license and users, if you will. But what would happen if I use a different customer license? It wasn't supposed to be for that specific customer. They used someone else's license. This is a customer license, not a partner license. Say they don't have any customization, so that it wouldn't be conflicting with the idea range of extensions, not in any of that.
Sandeep, I guess you have something to say. Go ahead.
Microsoft Business Central or NAV licenses doesn't have a compliance feature within the license itself or some online mechanism to check it. So technically, you can use the license of any customer with any other customer. It will not stop you. The only thing is that the object
Legally.
range and the country code may conflict.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
legally it's a problem. That's, if it was done
It's,
by mistake, you can reset it, I guess.
yeah, it's a compliance issue. So if Microsoft catches you or some problem happens, then you can be in trouble. Otherwise, from technical perspective, I don't recommend it. It should not be done, but technically you can do it.
Well, this isn't on-prem, so they wouldn't be picking on it.
No, why not? They have done it in past, and I've seen it. I was there once. So, while it was happening at a customer place. So it happens. It's not about people being on SaaS or on-prem. They do check that.
Okay.
You have something else, Sam?
Obviously, I do. I'm trying to use the barcodes, 2D barcodes, and the problem is the font, Aztec, Data Matrix, Maxi Code, and so on and so forth are not available with SQL Builder. I mean, Report Builder. how do you think we could be adding fonts and report builder to be able to create the barcodes?
And you're talking about on-prem or SaaS? On-prem,
On-prem.
right?
On-prem, yeah.
On-prem, you just need to have those font installed on the server where the services are, and that's it.
But how am I supposed to add them to report builder?
You don't have to add them into the report builder, as a developer need it while he's building it on his machine, right? When he's doing the report dev. And then for users, while they will run the report, they need to make sure that it's installed on the service tier. And I guess there was a slight change that happened, and I wrote a blog about it a while ago. That in the latest version, I guess Windows Server 2019 and higher, you need to make sure that you install font for all users by checking on this option. Don't just install it on the service tier. Make sure that it get installed for all the users on the service tier, and that way it'll start showing up on the report when they run it.
It doesn't have to be installed on the user machine, right?
Just on the server. But this setting should, as in this option should be chosen when you do that installation.
Okay.
Anything else, anyone?
The same person, really. Last
Go
question, I think. Can we suspend a customer license and reactivate it later?
I don't think so.
No. So you can
surrender.
You can surrender, but you cannot stop it for some period and then restart it, so that the customer might save on the enhancement plan charges.
Yeah, and this is again on-prem. So the idea, to make it clear for everyone, is that they wouldn't be paying the fees, anything at all. They would be stopping it for, say, a year, and then resuming the license, if you will. And you're saying it's impossible.
But what do you mean by stop? So they can, if they're not paying any fees, they can continue as it is.
For 1 year? Oh, you are talking about the maintenance that they pay yearly, right?
Yeah.
No, you can't do that.
Is that a Microsoft documentation? Because I found something on Microsoft documentation. They say it's possible to suspend it, but the partner would be paying instead of the customer. Once the customer resumes the license, they would be paying all the, the former fees they haven't paid, and the partner was paying for them. So it's possible, but the partner would be paying the fees.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Well, technically, from Microsoft perspective, the license is always active. It's the partner who is paying, and that we can do. We can always do it. See, if you have got good terms with the partner, you can always do it. But at the end of the day, once the services are resumed, they want to continue, the customer will have to pay for 2 years. So I would look it in a different way, that after, say, 1 year of stopping, now when the customer is paying for 2 years, the plan charges, then he can ask for the waiver of the penalty. Then you don't have to do anything else.
Do you think it would be cheaper to stop the license and buy a new one instead of, stopping it?
If the period is 1 year, then it doesn't make any sense. You should pay for 2 years. But if it is the gap is 4 or 5 years, then it's always best to buy new licenses.
Okay.
So we have done this thing. So where the customer has not paid for 4 years, then if you can get some discount on premium license, then it's always better to get a new license. And for the partner also, this is beneficial because they get that number of customer ads and new revenue. You think? See, I'm an entrepreneur, so I know.
Good to know.
Anything else?
We have other questions. It's about AL. They would be requiring some time. I think this isn't the best time for us. I'll be posting them through the blog. Maybe we'll be answering them upcoming open discussion.
Okay, not a problem.
Yeah.
Saurabh, are you doing anything on that thing that you were talking, group development or something?
Yeah, I was waiting for some people, and I guess the person, I guess Fauzan requested it, and he's not ending up for, I guess, from last 2 weeks. But yeah, Sandeep said, let's say what should we do, and then maybe let's do it next week.
See, we can identify a few topics which will be of common use, and
Yeah.
then write some either blogs or repositories for them so people can refer to them.
Not a problem. Anytime. As in, you just send out me anyone, any kind of suggestions, and maybe we can do it next week. I don't mind doing that. I'll be happy to.
Actually, I've got a couple. I've got 5, or actually 4 topics we could be discussing. Page builders, partial records, regular expressions, everything.
Partial records, I guess we have tackled it. You might want to go back into history and see that. We had done, I guess, one full day session on, not full day, but yeah, 1 hour talked about it. I guess we debugged the whole process. I compared the output if you don't use partial record and if you use partial record. I'm pretty sure there is one full session about it. But others, can you send it to me maybe on mail or something so that I remember it?
Yeah, I will, right afterwards.
That, you know, I'll have an idea, and then maybe we'll pick something. Let me find you about the partial record, because that's one thing that I kind of keep on getting from different people about partial records, and I should have written about it somewhere. I guess I should write about it someday. But I'm putting the link about the partial record session recording, and maybe watch it and let me know if it doesn't, you know, if it doesn't cover what you want.
Thank you.
Right.
All right.
Saurabh,
Yes,
how
sir.
do we do it? Are we going to do this in these sessions, or are we contributing to a common development, or maybe or something like that?
I think what we should do is prepare the baseline into these meetings, as in what we want to achieve and things like that, and then go back, and then next week we review what different people have committed into the repo. You
Fine.
know what I'm saying? Like, instead
Yeah.
of doing it together here, because that'll be time consuming, right? We just
Very true.
lay out the groundwork, and then whoever is interested, they go back, start doing their stuff, and then in the next meeting we discuss what we did, and understand the intent of why somebody did it this way and the other person did it that way.
Good enough.
Right?
So
So,
would
okay,
be one,
yeah.
would
Go
be
ahead.
one repository, we would be cloning it.
Yeah, let's say if there are 5 branches of the main one, right, and everybody tried to writing it, we walk through everybody's code and understand what's the intent behind writing that code, and then whatever we like, we do a pull request back to the master into it. So other kind of gets discarded, and one solution gets into the master, which we all agree that, yeah, this seems the right way or the right solution for it. So we kind of review each other code also, and then pick the best code more or less, and put it into the repo for the benefit of others.
Oh, that sounds like a good idea, really. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, just send me something, Sandeep sir, Sam, or anyone else, any kind of technical thing that we can write about, and then we will maybe start it next week. No problem.
Sure, we'll do that.
Will do. Yeah.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thanks for the
Again,
session.
thank you. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.